I don't know why I got up so early this morning. It's kind of funny. It is a new year for me because yesterday was a new moon day, according to what I understand to be the biblical calendar. Um, it is the start of a new month, a new sort of section of the moon being lit up from one side to the other. Right. So if you wanted to count a real month, regardless of where you would start it, if you're not following the moon, it's not really a real month. So I just think it's funny that people call months like January, February, March, April. It's like those aren't even of a perfect 12th of a solar year anyway. Those are also altered to be 31 or 30 or 28 days. So it's just fun. It's just kind of funny because it reminds me of like it's just like the same thing with like BTC. They'll come up with Segwit. They'll come up with all these little things, little hacks. We have the party system for voting. We don't use just pure math for these types of things. And it's like there's always, and they make their own names for the days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They used to, the Romans would worship the planets or whatnot. It's like they're supposed to just be numbered days, man. And after working that shift where I was able to sit there for most of the shift and relax, and then because not even because of the mistake that I made. I mean, it happened as causality, but the reasoning that they got uh, frustrated with me was apparently because I had texted someone and I was like demanding some help, basically. And I wasn't like cursing anyone out. I wasn't yelling at anyone. I was just saying like, "Hey, send like this." I was just being tactical, like in my thoughts of like strategic, trying to like plan like, "Hey, you know." But man, it's like I get so angry thinking about things like this. I'm like, part of me just wants to pray that God just shuts this whole place down and just destroys. Because it's like, how do you treat people like that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you just, like, I'm a very non peaceful, very mean person, not very pleasant to be around a lot of time. But if I was in charge of someone and I end up having to get them in trouble, it's going to be like every stage of like a fair trial, but even more than that. It's going to be like I propose logically to them what they're doing wrong and see what their response is. You know what I mean? Like it but when somebody treats you where, like, even when I was just, even this morning, I was getting angry because, and I wasn't yelling at anyone. I was just getting angry. But I was being logical and I was communicating with someone about just basically I wanted a coffee and I wanted to use my own mug and stuff. And it just, the reasoning with them didn't seem like it was working. It was like, so you're telling me that you could make it in like this stainless steel thing, and then I was asking them if it relates to the law, and then does it relate to this coffee company's policies overall, and all this type of stuff. And like the employee was just like, well, I don't, I was trained this way or whatever. And it's like there's when I do a job, I just always try to do my best. And this is the thing: when somebody does their best at their job, they should not be removed for doing their best, basically. Like when I was in the army and I suggested, hey, this is possibly a smarter way to do things. And then I had other people telling me, like, no, that's a dumb idea. Well, you have to be able to judge the idea properly. What's up, Tech Takitika? So when this happened, it's like the funny thing is that I had already made a causal mistake by not thinking. It was so simple. It was like all I had to do was lift up the trailer using hydraulics, and then I could easily put down the trailer legs and then lower the hydraulics, and then it would be like not stuck anymore. But for some reason at the time I wasn't. It was so early in the morning, and it was right after the time change, and I was like, oh shoot, this thing is like stuck, and I was trying to like raise the trailer up, and but see, then I had pulled something forward and then gotten another one stuck. So somebody had texted me and said, "Okay, grab this other trailer instead." So when I said, "Hey, I'm kind of stuck in middle of the road on the construction site. There's a road because remember this is a data center, big G tech company, and but they were saying like, okay, don't worry about it. But I was saying like, hey, I need a wrench. Now I borrowed a wrench before from these dock people. Now wrenches you can get for like $2 at a at these little hardware stores, these Harbor Freights. So I mean, if I need a wrench, ultimately I can get a wrench. But like, that's all they had to tell me was like, hey, can you try to figure it out, fix it, get a hold of your boss or whatever. But when it was like, okay, the rest of the day went fine. Solved the problem. I fixed everything that was wrong. I was like, whew, good thing I got out of that situation. But then my boss tells me like later, like on another day, that somebody somewhere wasn't happy about those texts. So then they were like not wanting me to come back on that site because of that, me asking like, hey, do you got a wrench? Can you send someone out to help me with this? And it's like, because what? Because we're like a service? It's like, okay, that's fine. We're like a service, then just communicate that and that's it. Why do you have to like hold it against someone like, "Oh, but you're not allowed to come back. You don't have this person come back." It's like, "What? Why?" That's not communication. Like I don't care. I can be extremely angry with someone, or I can have someone that I'm dissatisfied with the way they're going about things. But all I have to do at that point is just communicate it and say like, "Hey, it's supposed to work this way, not this other way." And that's the point where it's like that's the point where it's like, because when you just judge someone by communication, like, oh, they're asking for something, it's like, who no wonder why we're always having people try to teach us like, oh, it's okay to ask there's no such thing as a stupid question. Well, you get punished for asking questions because that's how people treat each other. That's how people think. The way people think is really starting to get me pissed off. And when I watch these videos, like when you go watch that YouTube video where this guy says, "Oh, it's hard. This is why smart people are not successful," or something, and then you find out he worked for Google for like 8 years or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but he said there used to be all these smart people with like 150 IQ, and then they kind of left over time, and then all that's remaining is there's people with like 115, 120, and they're not really geniuses. They're not really there to like invent new things. They're not really excited about creating things as much as they are about maintaining their position. They're probably polite people, but what they do, I'm guessing, is they set up this whole situation around them where they're like in control, where they're like, oh yeah, communicate with me, and they try to get the job done through them, right? And this is what it annoys me. This is why I don't like that, because everyone thinks like, oh, this is the person we have to keep around because otherwise things will fall apart because they're the ones like in control. Like, first of all, nobody should ever be doing that. If they're actually just doing the best at their job, they're not worried about making themselves irreplaceable. They're just doing their job the best they possibly can. When somebody just makes like optimizes by trying to make themselves like non-replaceable and try to like niche themselves in, but they're not necessarily just doing the best optimal job, then what they're doing is they're not gonna be hiring somebody who's smarter than themselves. Like Steve Jobs used to say, like, B players will hire C players and C players will hire D players. But A players are different because they won't hire B players. They're actually good because this is why they're A players, because they will hire the A plus players. They will hire the people, they will say, hire this other person who's even better than me, because they actually care about their job and getting the job done the best they can possibly get done. And they're willing to even like have somebody smarter than them. Wow. Oh, that's such a. Could you possibly imagine that somebody's actually willing to be humble and willing to actually care more about getting the job done than just getting their paycheck or securing their own position? Right? Not very often now. Not very often, no. But that's what makes an A player is they hire people. And who I thought was basically, I wouldn't say he was my worst roommate, but he was like just had the most major issues with the basics because he found roommates who are even better than him at the basics. It's like, okay, that's that actually means a lot. That's actually important. Welcome to life, bro. Figure out how to work for yourself or deal with it. Uh-huh. That might have been why, by the way, Joe Mom. That might have been why my boss. By the way, I like my boss right now. My direct boss. Like what I'm talking about is that big tech company data center that they're building, right? Which it's really good that he got that. But my actual boss for the company that I work for directly, because there's like 5 companies involved in between all this, right? So the company that I directly work for, like if you just go up one company in that situation, um, is just like my direct boss. I think he must have realized that years ago. Like this guy's already like, I think he's in his 60s, but he just doesn't stop working. He's like literally, I don't want to say literally a robot, but he is more of a robot. Somebody who's more capable of having the opinion of calling, like I have a friend who my friend is like is in like the top 5 percentile probably for like just being able to just drive trucks long haul nonstop. You only stop at the gas station on the right side and then keep on going and like just doing his job like efficient, like just nonstop, right? He would be qualified to label somebody as a robot, and he labeled my boss as a robot. so 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 like he you have to work smart though, but my boss actually is kind of decently smart too. So he's not like bad to have for a boss, and he's the one who like the first thing he said about this, it had nothing to do with a communication problem. It had just to do with like, why don't you just do the hydraulics thing? And I was just like, oh yeah, that just makes way too much sense. So like I don't mind having a boss like that because I don't mind like if somebody's smarter than me or they're like they know what they're doing better than me, then it's I like that better because it's like okay, they're actually worthy of being my boss. And that's how kind of how it is with my boss. Like he doesn't um I don't really have issues with him. In fact, sometimes I wonder why he doesn't fire me for some stupid crap that I've done. So, it actually amazes me that he hasn't gotten rid of me for being for being an idiot. But just saying, it's the opposite with that construction site, that place that I was at. It's like I did all these things to help. I fit in with so many people, and then somebody somewhere, and I don't know if it was that girl who just was very polite on the outside, but then really was just like, hey, check out these look what he's look how he's reacting or something, and she's just inexperienced or whatever, or somebody else just was asking, hey, what's going on, and then they're like a supervisor, but they're really not, in my opinion, qualified to be a good supervisor or something. But it just was so stupid because I mean, when I was there, I was like basically too. I mean, they had these ex military, like ex. I don't know. I forgot what it was. It wasn't SEALs. It was like something. Might have. It was some kind of special ops guys or something who were in charge of like the medic section on this site. But it's like, okay, I used to be in the military. I'm talking to these new kids. I'm just explaining to them. They're like, oh, you have to turn off the thing. I was like, okay, let me just explain this to you. I'll turn it off, but just remember, if I don't set the brakes, watch this. The truck can move by itself, even though it's off, and it will crush someone behind you. So the thing that you should pay attention to is that the brakes are set, and right. So like you can follow the safety rules that they tell you are required to follow, but I'm just showing you practically how this physically works. And like I actually care about your actual safety in reality. Whether or not you're following the rules or not, I actually want you to not get hurt. So like maybe, you know, that's why I understand like rules don't make sense unless you explain the purpose of the rules. Because anytime you come up with a rule, unless it's a universal rule, unless it's like just math, it it doesn't actually make sense to have it as a rule unless you have the purpose with it. Because what if somebody is trying to build like a shotcrete house and they're like, nope, it's not structurally strong enough because you don't have 16 inches on center for wooden studs. It's like, well, you don't need wooden studs because it's a steel reinforced concrete. So it's like you got to explain the purpose of the rule. You can't just have the rule. That just doesn't make sense. Sorry to be like, and I'm not a controlling person. I took a type of personality test. Everyone knows about these dumb personality tests, talking about introvert and all this stuff. Forget that. There's another type of personality test. It has to do with what you can. It's like the simplest thing ever, actually. It's so straightforward. It's insanely simple. It's like when they did the IQ test and they found out it's like 2 orders of magnitude more accurate than everything else, and it takes you like 5 minutes to figure it out. Um, there's a personality test that asks you like a couple questions, and it basically explains how to get along with your spouse or your child or whatever, and it has to do with what somebody cares about when it comes to these four fundamental aspects of meaning. So there's the type of person who likes to get things done. By the way, it's called the flag page. You can look it up. But there's a marriage counselor, Christian marriage counselor, who like sells it online, but it actually makes sense to me. Um, People who like to get things done, bulldozer type. There's people who like to do things right. Uh, there's people who like to have fun, like to enjoy life and to be at peace. It doesn't mean they're necessarily lazy, but it means they value having like quality time. They don't want to just work their whole lives. They value the purpose of the work is to have fun. And then there's like people who want to keep the peace. So like they like communication to work well or things to work smoothly. Now, I'm of the understanding that I'm basically like 0% keeping the peace, and I'm like really high on doing things right. Although I know logically that you need to have an optimal keeping things smoothly to get as much work done as possible. But like those optimization problems are like the things that I think about doing right anyway. Like I just revert to the theoretical, and I'm just like I care about doing things Right. And mentally, I know that I'm not capable of being like the bulldozer type because I've worked for a guy building houses and I just couldn't understand how I could mentally ever do that. Because for him, it was just go, 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 go. Like every second of the day, he could just say, like, you do this, you do this. And it's like he's just allocating what we're doing all day, the entire time. And I'm sure you could I could train to a point like that because it really depends. Like I played video games like that, but like just mentally, I was just like, it's hard for me to get into that unless I'm really good at what I'm doing. Like unless I'm really trained on something and I know what I'm doing. But I just cared about. I felt like I just cared about doing things the right way more, and it might be something that's able to change. Like I'm not saying I know that this is a nature nurture thing. It might be more of a nurture thing than just a nature thing. It might be that depending on your situation, you could become more of somebody who wants to value having fun or having keeping the peace, but just because of your experiences. I don't really know. I don't know how much it can change, but I know like I've had reasons to be like, oh, do things right, and you can you can explicitly show that with computer science because you can have like something like, I always use this example of like Conway's game of life. Like the most efficient algorithm is about 10 to the 1500 power times faster than like the second most efficient algorithm. So it's like that's such a big number that it's like, you know, it's like it's like guessing. It's like if you it's like every how do you even explain how big of a number that is? I was gonna say it's like if you guess the private keys of every Bitcoin chain, and every single like bit of the Bitcoin chain is like another chain, and you guess all the private keys of all of those as well, and then that would be like the chance of picking like the right number out of like 10 to the 1500. It'd be like ridiculous. It's just like it's like a ridiculously astronomically large number, and it's just like an algorithm can't compare. Like you can't even come close to doing like, I don't want to say less than 1% because that's like just taking off a few. That's like like pulling you down from 10 to the 1500 just down to like 10 to the 1490, you know. It's like, okay. Yeah, that's the difference between like 10 to the 1490 and like 10 to the 1500. This is still a big number there. I'm a have fun person, says 70 Sue. Yeah, I think it's an optimality thing. It's like we need these types of personalities. It's not that one of them's wrong. Like being as somebody who wants to get things done correctly. I don't think I can't say that um I can't say that, oh, every perspective is right. No, I'm going to say that there's a correct perspective and then there's incorrect perspectives, right? But that doesn't mean that the other personalities are like shouldn't exist. It just means that it's not that they're just like a different style, it's that they have a different purpose of what they're capable of doing cognitively rather than determining like I want to get something right because you have to do things right for them to actually for all the other things to work. If you want all the communication to work and there to be peace, there's being right involved in that. If you want to get things done, there's getting things done right involved in that. Because if you do things wrong, you don't get anything done anyway. Um, you have to do things right for all those things to work. But personality wise, it's like, what is the person actually optimizing for? You know what I mean? Like, the guy I built houses with, he was actually a little younger than me, but boy, he could just get stuff done so quick, and like we needed his, but he also had the right balance. Like he did it, he was also very precise, and so we were able to get like these $1 million houses like framed up really fast. And but you had to be so quick and be able to like just and like use a nail gun and like just, but he would get these things down to like, they were like just down to the centimeter way up, and I'm like, how how is it so accurate? After we measured the floor, and then we like, he would square off the corners and everything like that. He knew what he was doing, and he wasn't necessarily like the fastest athletic, person in the world, but he was strong, he was fast, and he was definitely stronger and faster than me at like everything we were doing by far. And so were the other guys we were working with. But when I did something on my own, like when I was working on like doing like the stairs or whatever, they came and looked at it and they're like, wow, that looks so nice, like how did you get them so straight and everything? And I was like, I don't know, I was just took my time. But you can, you have to be, when it comes to like mathematics, it's the same kind of thing. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to like, what's the actual optimization here? Are you going to figure out as much as you can, or are you just going to are you working on getting something as precise as you can? And if you're creating like a logic system, this is why I don't know, like, this is why it's like I can understand the whole Bitcoin situation, because I can understand, like, you have to have the DNA behind the DNA. You have to have those four base pairs working properly. You can't have that messed up and then expect the DNA to fix everything. It's like that, the logic system behind the logic system, matters a lot. And so one, like, that you have to get correct. That you have to get, precise. Calculus of inductive constructions, I was really interested in that, because it was like a logic system to maintain logic systems, or to maintain itself inductively. And people always focus on just what they see. They just focus on the surface, but they don't see the underlying issues. And some people think, like I was seeing in the comments, oh, it's just about experience. Yeah. You can have a lot of experience. You can have a lot of experience, but there's things that people with 60 years of experience, that they don't, just basic concepts that they don't realize. And it's because most of the time when somebody comes in and acts like they know something, when they're new and inexperienced, they have like this Dunning-Kruger kind of approach. They don't really know what they're doing, but it's like, but I've had actual times where I've shown somebody who's like done something for 50 years, like, hey, by the way, do you know if you put a strap around a box and the box is on the side, that the strap, like, let me just show you the math. Like, the strap is actually longer, so if the box shifts to the middle, then the strap is loose. Like, that is just a math fact. There's little tricks and stuff to tightening it down where it doesn't shift to the middle as easily and all that type of stuff. But that's literally how it works with like strapping things down. And if you have vibrations, you will have something move to the middle, and then the strap will be loose. That's just that's just math. So experience might not teach you that if it's not something that you're really thinking about, you're focusing on. Same with if you're trying to strap a bunch of mirrors and then you don't put something around the outside, or you don't put a strap in the middle and the mirrors kind of like do this. It's like, who are you going to blame? Well, you can't just strap it around the top and then be like, well, I made it tight. No, you have to have something to keep the inside from sliding out. That's more just math. You can learn by experience, but if you're not letting the experience teach you and you're not thinking about it enough, it doesn't matter how many times you try to do something the wrong way. You can't experience your way into like SpaceX. I don't know what they're doing with their launches right now with the two starships that blew up, but it's like after that first one of the version 2, I would hope they would put like a bunch of cameras inside of it and just try to figure out exactly why the thing blew up. Because if you like, you can kind of theorize, but it's like at that point, if you're not really sure and then the same problem happens again, I don't know, it's like something's off. Like there's something where you don't want to just be guessing. Is it a vibrational thing? Like you got to figure out how to put cameras or some kind of sensors in there and just find out what is going on, because if you don't know how to model it, it's going to be frustrating to deal with, because you don't know when that type of problem is going to come up again. Like you want to know why, potentially. And I get it, it's in development phase, but it's just kind of strange being a version 2, because you'd think if they were able to land version 1s already, it's like there's something that doesn't make sense about that not working. '70 Sue is a fun person. We need fun people because, well, if we don't have any fun, then life is just work. Somebody needs to tell my boss that. I feel like that guy's just like I don't know what he is. I think he was like a computer, supposedly like has like a computer science degree or something, but all he does is like drive trucks and fix trucks and tell trucks where they need to go and stuff like that. It's like, come on, man. Pero, did you want to say hi? Did you want to say hi? Come here, sis. Say hi. Come here, sis. Say hi. Say hi. Yeah. Just say hi. She's so stinky right now. Oh my goodness. You are so yawny and stinky. You have worse morning breath than a human. You are so stinky. You got like, what did I feed you? Didn't I give you, I just gave you some meat. You gotta go potty? Huh? You gotta go potty? Is that what you gotta do? I got an anxious dog on me here. Yeah. Yeah, I tell people, I told everyone, I was just like, well, I have a redhead at home and I treat her like a dog. So. Hey, you're stinky. You are stinky. Stay there. Stay there, sis. Stay. No, come here, sis. Stay. Go sleepy. Down there. And then we're gonna go potties after this. We're gonna go potty. Yeah, you stay there. All right, so maybe I could switch up things and kind of go, with the dog in a truck, kind of go around, have some fun. By fun, I mean mainly working, but traveling around. But right now, I'm doing this kind of a back and forth type thing, which doesn't pay too much, but it sort of keeps me surviving. I don't like that though. If I'm not making progress financially, it's not, I don't like doing a job that's just like repetitive or unfulfilling. It's not fun. I want to get a website running where I have like my voxel game that I came up with. It's not cubes, it's something better. And I have like maybe a code tree editor, things like that. I want to do things like that. But I don't know, unless I can make money from it and buy myself some time. It's just it's kind of frustrating to think about because I just never know how I'm supposed to make money from creating things that I love. Like I want to create things that I love, but I want money so that I have the time to be free to just create the things that I love. But I feel like I also need to make money from those things so that I can have the time. So I don't have to spend my time just doing something repetitive, doing something that I don't enjoy. All right, guys. It's been fun talking to y'all. I don't want to just do 99 second, 99 seconds, not even 99 second, 59-second videos. Pero no, stay. Stay. No. I don't want to just do 59-second videos. I want to do stuff like this where I'm talking for like 30 minutes or whatever so I can actually explain my life, what's going on. Because sometimes life kind of sucks. Sometimes it's good. I mean, yesterday it could have sucked. I had a tree. My tree fell on my house yesterday. Literally. Fell like and hit the side, like broke my gutter, like bent my gutters in my house. And that wasn't fun, but at least it didn't crash through the window. I mean, there's always an upside to that. That's nice. So that that tree kind of wasn't really in a good spot anyway. I feel sad that that happened, but hey, I had a different idea of where I needed another tree anyway, and it was in a better, probably a more future-proof location. All right, guys. Well, thanks for the fun.